Welcome back to Racing Across America on this Wednesday morning, live from the Saratoga backstretch. As promised before the break, we are joined now by Janet Reid, the New York Racing Association Chief Horse Identifier. Good morning, Janet.
Good morning.
And that is quite a unique profession, horse identifier. Tell us what is the career path that led you to that?
Well, actually, I fell into this job. I had gone, excuse me, I had gone to school to become a veterinary technologist. And just after I had done my preceptorship, I decided that I really didn't want to work with small animals. I had a summer job, and I was living down the street from Mike Kay, whose daughter and my brother were friends, and they mentioned that I had come out of school, and Mike decided that I should maybe try to come and walk hots for him in the morning. I went over to Belmont, took one round with a hot horse, handed the horse back, said I did not go to school for this, and he suggested that I come to the races at Belmont that afternoon, introduced me to Dr. Gilman. Dr. Gilman was the chief examining veterinarian and ran the program for the horse identification office. He had a girl going out on maternity leave. I slid in there as a part-time employee. She never came back, and I was on the job training from there.
The rest is history.
The rest is history.
So how long have you been in the horse identifier program?
I've been there for 32 years.
Wow.
Loved every time.
When did you start? When you were like 6 years old?
Thank you. No. Did graduate college. It's been a good run. It's been a lot of fun. It's on-the-job training. We had a lot of old gentlemen in the office who, just through attrition, they retired, and I kept moving up a little bit. I was taught by Buddy Bishop, who was the chief identifier at the time, went on to become the registrar at the Jockey Club. Have a very good working relationship with him and the Jockey Club, the rest of their staff.
You've been the chief...
chief identifier for, I believe it's 7 years now. Yeah.
And what is the mission of the horse identifier?
We're here to protect the integrity of racing and the betting public from fraud. We make sure that the horses who are running are the correct horses. We have full certificates that we use, which is basically a birth certificate or a passport. Has a description of a horse, his white marking, his colors, hair whorls, sex, of course. And we make sure that they match up exactly as they should. The horses are tattooed at one point, which is their registration number, preceded by a letter which represents the year of birth. We are currently down into the O's, so that's our babies right now. We don't like using the tattoo number as a reference, it's actually a quick reference. We don't like to use it because we believe that the natural markings of the horse are the best way to go. We also have horses that are coming to us with microchips. And the microchips, again, it's a man-made marking as a tattoo is, and it's only as good as the person who is doing the original identification, the tattooing, or the insertion of the microchip. We've already had horses come to us with microchips.
The wrong horse?
Well, not the wrong horse, but they have mistakes on their papers that we have to go back and check. I had a filly come to us from France several years ago to run in a stakes race, and I almost scratched her because she was so, her markings were so wrong. I had to wake up the France Gallop to get that one straightened out. But yeah, we got that all straightened out, and she did end up running.
Explain what that situation was a little bit. So the horse walks in front of you, and you've got the papers in front of you, or you're waving the wand and checking the chip, and things aren't matching up.
Correct.
So then what is your next step?
The next step is to take photos of the horse, submit the photos to the Jockey Club, either the import department at that point, who has to go check their import passport and their original registration with whatever country they came from. And they will make a determination if it was a clerical error or if it was something that was just missed on the original application as a foal. And either we will go ahead and correct it if it seems that it is the correct horse, or in the worst case scenario, we have to DNA test everybody.
So is this a race day kind of thing when this happens?
No, we go. We'd like to get at least 72 hours out from race day in case there is a problem, so that we can examine original files to make sure that the horses, can run, of course, if they match up.
So 72 hours for all horses, or for horses that are kind of new to the grounds?
We have it's a 72-hour box, so we try to get to them actually the next day. So as soon as the entries come out, we make a list of the horses who have not run with us, go and check them, photograph them, put the composite photo together, which is what I take to the paddock. So it is. It's if very often we have trainers who come to us months in advance in case there is a problem. We can get it taken care of, and there's no stress and there's no rush.
And you mentioned the photos you take in the book. You take to the paddock, and I think we have some photos here. I kind of looked over your shoulder a few days ago, and there we have you checking your program. You have the book in front of you, and the guys can just kind of shuffle through these as a horse comes through. We'll see actually looking at the photo, and then I kind of have a close-up of the photo as well. Now, the photos in the book are things you and your staff put together?
Correct.
And those are, I'm assuming you're looking for identifying marks, and there's the close-up. And on the right-hand side of the page, are those fingerprint type of
Yes.
analogy kind of a thing?
Yeah, those are the night eyes or the chestnuts. They're callus growths that are on the inside of all four legs, one on each leg. They are like a fingerprint. They don't change. They're unique to every horse. You're never going to see the same combination of four. And if a horse comes to the paddock and he either has no white markings or he has bandages or he has blinkers, we can rely pretty heavily on that. And I can look at them from a distance. I don't have to touch the horse for a tattoo. I don't have to worry about cross-contamination. I can do that from several feet away, just kind of walk through the paddock and try not to get in anybody's way. And it's also safe because I don't have to, again, touch the horse. If a horse is fractious in the paddock, it could, of course, cause problems not only for me but for people around them. And now if you look at tattoos, you find that a lot of the tattoos over time fade. And sometimes even when they're not that old, they're illegible. So for me, it's very difficult to be able to make a distinction. I would not want to have to rely on just strictly a tattoo as I do out of town. We have a fabulous program. I know it's a little expensive. We have 5 employees in the office who go on rounds in the morning in teams of 2, and then myself, of course. And we maintain our photo ID records for 15 to 20 years. If a horse comes to us after his racing career as a thoroughbred is over, maybe becomes a steeplechase horse, we go back into the archives, pull out the photo, and we don't have to do the work again.
Well, this is interesting. I didn't realize this. So some tracks don't have a horse identifier. Some tracks are just turning the lip and looking for the tattoo.
Those are your horse identifiers for that track.
But that's their sole way of identifying.
Yeah.
They check the tattoo. They're
Yeah.
not doing as extensive with the.
And we've had problems with horses coming from other racetracks. We had 2 years ago, we had a horse that ran in 3 different states at 7 racing jurisdictions, and when he got to us, because we go by the natural marks, found out it was the wrong horse. So thank God it was a gelding, and that wasn't going to go into the breeding shed and make all kinds of messes there, but we did straighten it out. We were able to DNA test him, found the correct horse who had not a parallel racing career, but they both had racing careers, and then all their information had to be swapped out.
Oh, very interesting. So you were the discovery process for
We
all
are.
that. Very
We are.
good.
Yeah.
Congratulations on that. And that certainly is for the integrity of the game. To know the right horse, the right record for the horse, for bettors, that's certainly a plus. You've talked about the DNA a couple of times so far. What is the DNA database that you work from? Is DNA taken when in the lifespan of the horse?
After a horse is born, a kid is sent out from the jockey club to the farms, and the farms have to go on with the original registration process, which includes DNA testing. So every foal that's registered has gotten hair pulled, and the DNA sample is sent to California, and that database is kept either in California or with access to the jockey club through Kentucky.
And from your standpoint, that's what kind of a last resort kind of thing? That's when you really need. You're not
Yeah.
doing DNA on every
No,
entry.
no. Generally, we were able to find out where the right horse is by just going back and saying, okay, what farm did he come from? Where did he go from there? What van was he on? You know, and generally you can go back and find them. It might take a little digging and a little investigating, but generally you're able to find them that way. We do have a horse that we found at the beginning of the meet here that we still don't know who he is because his DNA did not. The result has not come back, but we did find the horse that was supposed to be here at Calder.
Oh,
So-
there you go. And so, how did that transpire? You were out in the mornings and the markings didn't match?
One of the identifiers was out in the morning and just said, we have big problems here. This is not the right horse. And when they came back and started the process, sending the photos to the jockey club, seeing what the horse was supposed to look like, we get the original photos that were submitted, original registration from the jockey club. Everything's digital now, so things go back and forth very quickly. We know what the horse is supposed to look like, and obviously it was not the horse that we had here. So then again, like I said, the investigation started, went back to the farm, found out where the vans went, found out where the horse was, but unfortunately we still do not know who we have here.
You're like the Columbo of horse racing.
Yeah.
But to be clear, you've got the book with the photos that you and your staff have taken, but
Correct.
there's another set of photos that were taken by the Jockey Club? Or they just have a description?
They'll have photos. The original application is done on the farm. You have an identifier on the farm or somebody on the farm who knows how to do that. They take color photographs, they do a written description, they submit that into the Jockey Club. They also pull the hair sample for the DNA. The DNA goes to the lab. The rest of the information goes to the Jockey Club. The Jockey Club will approve the vernacular that you've written, or if you've written something a little vague, they'll look at the photos or ask for more photos or ask for clarification, and then they produce the full certificate that travels with the horse for the rest of his life.
And that's really the foundation, because that's
Correct.
done early on in the
Yes.
horse's career before
Yes.
they ever get to the racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
Curious if there's any unique problems or situations that maybe Saratoga presents. Are there differences between Saratoga in summertime and Aqueduct in February?
A few, not to mention the weather. Our workload here is tremendous. We quadruple our workload here, and quadruple is a small amount of what we're actually doing. We'll do 800 or 900 horses here in the 6 or 7 weeks that we're up, as opposed to, let's say, a couple of hundred at Aqueduct. Of course, more at Belmont, but the workload here for us is tremendous.
But I always ask, on the trainer side, the owner side, the jockey side, it's got to be fun working in front of a full house and a big crowd. Is it the same for the horse identifier?
It is. It is. People watching here is great.
Absolutely.
Horse watching is even better. It's just amazing to watch a horse go by and just almost take your breath away. And then that's what you see up here. The horses do so well, and they shine and they bounce, and you can see how happy they are. So it's a pleasure to be up here and to see old friends and people you've made acquaintances with over the years. This is it's a unique place to be.
Yeah, you've alluded to it already a little bit, but is it nice to see a wise Dan walk by?
Oh, yeah.
That kind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And just finally, what happens when you do? And I'm assuming it's not something that happens that often, but you're out there in the paddock and things don't match up, 5 minutes prior to a race.
I can only say that's happened twice in recent history for me. One was
Because again, you're kind of about 72 hours out. You're already doing a pre kind of.
Right. For a horse to make it to the paddock, an incorrect horse to make the paddock is a very, very rare event. We did have something happen at Belmont where a groom was taking care of two horses. One was in, say, the second race and the third, and the other was in the third race. He brought the third race horse up for the second race. Of course, you have to scratch him.
Yeah.
There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And we did suggest to him that he did not bring up the other horse for the third race. So he took that quite well. But we really don't end up having the wrong horse. But by the time you get through the veterinary exam in the morning, the assembly barn, and the blood gas testing, the Lasix veterinarians, there's really, by the time they get to us, unless there's some tremendous mess up, we really shouldn't have that experience.
Yeah, and I was assuming if it had happened, it would be something like that. A groom would just have some kind of, brain stop there, and bring the wrong horse over or something. But yeah, a couple of times over many, many years. Probably be about what I would expect, because as I say, you're 72 hours out already doing it, and there's the various layers that take them. But you're there just in case. We see you in the paddock every day with the binder, doing a great job. Janet Reid, the Chief Horse Identifier for the New York Racing Association. We certainly appreciate the visit this morning, giving us a little insight into, as I say, a unique profession. And in fact, it's even more unique than I realized, because I didn't realize that here that you've got the book and everything, a lot of other smaller tracks, which makes sense. I mean, it probably is an expense, but they're just looking at the tattoo. So there is the extra protection for us here
Absolutely.
at NYRA. All right.
It's a quality program.
That's what we like.
Okay.
Janet, we appreciate the visit this morning, and good luck on the rest of the meeting.
Thank you much.
Janet Reid, Chief Horse Identifier for the New York Racing Association. We'll take our next break. When we come back, Andrew Champagne of the Saratogian. We'll get some of his thoughts on the big weekend coming up.